listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome to another edition of the GM Shuffle, presented to you by the DraftKings Network. Marc Malusis in for Dave Ross this week, a well-deserved week off for Dave. Of course, the great Geoff Schwartz joining me. How you doing, Geoff? Welcome to another edition of the great GM Shuffle.
I am glad to be here with you, Mark. Look, every weekend that goes by is one weekend closer to football. I'm very excited. You're starting to feel like the air change here in Charlotte, North Carolina, get a little warmer, which means you get some football weather coming up for training camps. I'm starting to feel it in my bones, buddy. It's coming soon.
Well, you know what I love as well? I mean, we all love the National Football League, but I love we're through the draft process, right? We're through the NFL draft. We're through the, undrafted free agency signings and all of that and what's real and what's not real. And you get a sense we're in early May and NFL training camps are 2.5 months away, right? I mean, and that's going to be great because then it's the speed track right to the start of the NFL regular season, and we're going to be in the fall months and all that. Not wishing summer to go away, Geoff, but this is now we're through everything else. Free agency, the NFL draft. Now we can focus in on teams, what they have, what they don't have, and kind of delve into what we think about what their chances are in 2025.
Absolutely, and unlike maybe college football or other sports, the mini camp, the offseason stuff gets broadcast to us. I mean, we had video this weekend of Jalen Milroe. They already have like slow motion video of him throwing footballs at Seattle mini camp. Like, we're getting these. We don't get this in other sports. That's why I think football, man, there's many reasons why it's king, but one of them is that it sells hope better than any other league. And they do it by using these opportunities in the offseason to show practice, to give us good social media clips. Like, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, you saw that. And of course, you're excited for Sam Darnold. I get that. But you saw him spinning the rock like that. You're like, oh boy, like, he looked great. Like, it's like, throughout all the concerns we saw in film about his ability to throw the ball down the field, let's watch mini camp practice day one. And it's just like, those are the things NFL does that allows fan bases to build hope for their success of a season. I love it. I buy into it all the time. I love all the videos. I watch all of them. I get excited for each team to have a great season because of the social media clips we get to see. And so I hope the NFL continues to do that. And I think it's a great thing they do for all the fans.
Yeah, there's nothing like a slow-mo replay of Jalen Milroe throwing the ball in his shorts up in Seattle. No doubt. The GM Shuffle is presented to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. NFL offseason updates also presented to you by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. All right, Geoff, you've been through it. I haven't, right? Let's talk about, off-season workouts. Yeah. How do players stand out when you're looking at rookie mini camps here?
Yeah, so we're going to get these next couple of weeks, right? Rookie mini camp, and veterans are already back for the most part. The veteran mini camp is the end of the entire process. Rookies are showing up, right? And I was asked yesterday by a buddy of mine, do they get the playbooks when they're drafted? And really, no. Quarterback might get access to something early. So you show up as a rookie and you begin the process of learning the playbook. It's learning formations, learning personnel groupings. Everyone knows how to run or has been exposed on offensive defense, all the concepts, right? Cover 3, cover 2, a field pressure, a double mug pressure. We know what those are, right? An outside zone, inside zone. But it's about learning the coaching points and how each individual team wants those done. It's even as simple as learning the drills you're going to run in practice and then going out and executing what you've learned in the meeting room on the football field. Now, these are not intense practices, of course, but being able to quickly grasp the concepts and regurgitate them when a coach asks you a question or when it's time for field work is the first thing the coaches recognize right away. Look, if you're a draft pick, rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even probably 6, you're safe no matter what. You can be the biggest dum-dum there is and learn nothing, and they drafted you, you're on the team. Mark, like, you're on the team no matter what happens in minicamp. But it's for guys like me, 7th-round draft picks, undrafted free agents, they have to come in right away and be really good at the scheme, at picking up coaching points, going on the field and a coach tells you something in the team meeting, and you go out and do that on the practice field. When they watch film of practice or of individual position drills that happen on the practice field before you get to team sessions, you have to stand out. They have to say, oh, wow, Geoff Schwartz, I taught him. I said that. He did it in the meeting room. Or, wow, here's a great throw by a quarterback. Here's a great catch and run by a wide receiver. You just stand out on a film So coaches start paying attention to you. The more they pay attention to you, the more they want to coach you. It's very easy to get just turned off. Like you watch a player, they do nothing you ask them to do, and the coach says, you know what, undrafted free agent, I'm done with them. I'll focus on someone else. So starting fast and mentally is such a big thing for these rookies.
Well, how big is it, Geoff, if you are, say, an undrafted guy or a seventh round draft, or say
Yeah,
undrafted, for you and your agent to put yourself in the right spot,
yeah.
realizing, the team, their weaknesses, potentially what they're looking for. Obviously, you got to have the right attitude. You got to be coachable. You got to have the athletic ability, all those things going into it. But how important is putting yourself as an undrafted guy with the right team to give yourself an opportunity to make that team?
Well, I think it's twofold, right? It's making sure that you find a team that's willing to keep undrafted free agents over guys they've drafted. And there are some teams that are willing to do that. They're more progressive, like best player. I don't care if we drafted him or not. We want the best player to be in the team. Other teams are just going to lean heavily to the guys they drafted over the undrafted free agents. So first, it's finding those situations where you go and the team is open to keeping you if you beat out a player they've drafted. And then, of course, fit matters, right? If you're a quarterback, you want to go to an offense that fits what you do. You also don't want to be fifth string on that. Like, no one's going to Cleveland as a rookie and thinking they're going to make the team at a quarterback. They have too many quarterbacks, right? But you might find Pittsburgh, who I think right now still has two quarterbacks on the roster, as a place that, okay, let's go ahead and choose a place like that. So it is about looking at the depth chart. It's about finding a home that fits for you, and also again the coaching staff being able to make sure that you get an opportunity for those reps. Again, if you're an undrafted free agent, and rookie minicamp's a little bit different than the rest of minicamp. I forgot the Steelers did draft Will Howard. I was going to make sure they have three quarterbacks, Mark,
Yeah.
in their and they said they want to carry four, so four into training camp. So that's a spot for undrafted free agent to make the team. Is again, you don't get many opportunities. You have to make sure that you make the most of the opportunities when you get them. And that's why the mental part of it's so huge. You cannot go into a practice, have a mental error. Those things are not accepted. So that's why, again, even if you choose the right team, you have to make sure that you do the right things to stand out in those practices.
Yeah, and you mentioned Will Howard drafted by the Steelers, and there's a story out there of him talking to one of the Steelers' assistant coaches right after he was selected, the former star at Ohio State, saying, "Can you send me the offensive scheme and the install now?" And the coach was like, "We were going to wait till Monday." He's like, "No, I'd like to study over the weekend." And the coach was like, "Well, that's why we drafted you." What are teams looking to try and accomplish
It's
here, over the
it's a,
next 2.5
it's
months?
that I laugh at those things. They didn't draft him because he wants the playbook. I mean, like every player wants a
Well,
playbook now, but
that he's a hard worker, that he's gonna go out there and
yeah,
be studious, that he's
I
gonna go
know.
out there and lay it out, like all the things that, kind of
I
set Will
all the
Howard's not gonna
cliches,
set
yes.
himself apart physically.
Right. Absolutely. But part of the reason why the teams don't send the playbook to players early is, again, like you have to be able to interpret what the playbook says. If you haven't played that offense before, it's going to look, you'll know the route concepts. You've done it in Ohio State. Like you'll know the runs and you'll know some of the protection calls, but not in the language maybe they want it or the coaching points that they have. Like that's why I think it's just hard. Yeah, you can be sent the playbook and thumb through it, but how much you learn the formations and the personnel groups unless you're actually there. So I always find it interesting to see how much a quarterback can learn in just a couple of days. They get there, obviously, it's full steam ahead. In the next couple of months, as you said, I think are just about getting ready for training camp, right? So you're going to get installed in rookie mini camp if you're a rookie, right? If you're not, when you show up for the first day of OTAs, you're going to start getting the playbook installed. Goes through all of OTAs. You get it installed again during veteran mini camp. Then you obviously go away for the summer. You get it installed again in training camp day one. So basically you have 3 times to hear the playbook from start to finish. And so it's about just getting mentally ready, I think, for training camp. But also what I find and why I think the offseason program is important is this is where you build your camaraderie and chemistry with your teammates. It's a stress-free environment. No one's getting released. You're not worried about physicality of an NFL training camp. It's just a time to be with your teammates, to lift with them, to run with them, to condition with them, to have some fellowship and some bonding and go out to dinners and go out and have a drink or two. Like this is the perfect opportunity to do that. And I always say that, chemistry is sort of built now and then training camp, it carries over. Training camp is hard, right? You're not having all this time to hang out and learn about each other. This is the time of year to do that.
Yeah, listen, now I learned something, Geoff. That story's nonsense. See, I like leaned into that story and I was like, hey, good for Will Howard. He's setting the tone. And Geoff Schwartz, who's been through the battles, basically told me it's nonsense.
I mean, I'm just sort of unmoved by those things, Mark. You'll work more with me over the years. Like I mean, yeah, we all want to learn the playbook. My dog agrees. He says, I'm out on Will Howard. No, I'm not out on Will Howard. But I would say that, like, again, like, I just don't know how much it matters.
Yeah, no, I get that. I understand. And listen, I think now it's probably trying to set a tone for your franchise, right? And moving forward, wherever you might be. If you're one of the teams that are a potential Super Bowl contender, if you're one of those teams that are trying to get back to relevancy,
right.
Stop being a doormat. If, the Titans had the number 1 overall pick, we'll get into some props in a little bit. Obviously, the Giants trying to change their culture and get back to winning ways after 2 down seasons, sticking with Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. I mean, Washington continuing the momentum is kind of adding to that all now and setting the tone for what training camp is going to be all about, Geoff.
Absolutely. And again, look, I love that Will Howard's enthusiastic about learning about the playbook. I mean,
Yeah.
all the guys are, okay. But look, but here's the thing about Will Howard, though, and I'll give him this. I'll give him this, is that he does have a chance in the current quarterback room to legitimately win that job. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but if he comes in and plays really well in training camp, I mean, it's Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. Like, we certainly Will Howard can't win that job. So
there's another guy that's waiting in the wings, though, Geoff. There's another guy waiting in the wings potentially.
Yeah, I mean, he's been waiting in the wings for 3 months now. Like, either sign with the Steelers or don't. I'm getting tired of talking about him every week, which is what he loves. He wants to be talked about each and every week. So, look, I understand Will Howard's excitement. There's opportunity, I think, in Pittsburgh. I think it's slim, but he can certainly. We know what Rudolph is. We know what Thompson is. Can Will Howard win that job? It's not out of the question, I don't think.
There's still some free agents out there. We'll get into that next. We mentioned it. Didn't really mention his name. He was at the Derby this weekend, and that is the future Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to be donning that Pittsburgh uniform in short order? We'll get into that and some player props as well. He's Geoff Schwartz. I'm Marc Malusis, in for Dave Ross this week. This is the GM Shuffle, presented to you by the DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
This is the GM Shuffle. I'm Marc Malusis, in for Dave Ross, of course, Geoff Schwartz. And Geoff, we talked about off-season camps and rookie mini camps to kick off this week's edition of the GM Shuffle. Let's get into some free agents that are still standing or still sitting out there, and maybe some of the sexier names that are still could land in a spot and help a team. Some of the veterans and the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers. He was at the Derby this weekend. Hopefully he had sovereignty in the running for the Roses, 151st running of the Kentucky Derby. But Rodgers is still sitting out there. Obviously, the last team standing is the Pittsburgh Steelers. We discussed about Will Howard and Skylar Thompson and, Mason Rudolph in that quarterback room right now for Mike Tomlin out there in Pittsburgh. When will Aaron Rodgers finally make a decision? And ultimately, do you think it's with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I don't know. You tell me. If we could wager on it, I think we'd all lose money. Who knows what he's thinking? I thought he'd be with the Steelers already, Mark. I don't know what the holdup is. I mean, off-season workouts are now. Like, this would be the opportunity to get in, and as I mentioned just the last segment, right, learn about the playbook, meet your teammates. It feels like he just doesn't want to be in Pittsburgh for whatever reason, and Pittsburgh might not want him. It might not be as close as we think it is in that relationship. And he might be waiting for JJ McCarthy to play poorly in the first 2 weeks of training camp, and the Vikings desperately call and want Aaron Rodgers, or maybe someone else, or there's an injury that happens here and there in the preseason. He's waiting for a perfect opportunity, because right now you would think you want to get in and start becoming part of the team. And certainly terms of a contract could be a holdup, but it feels like it's not imminent. I would imagine. Again, Pittsburgh might go through 5 weeks of OTAs and realize, like, oh boy, we got a problem. We need Aaron Rodgers right now. Just remember, was it 2 summers ago now, 3, whenever he did the retreat in the woods for 4 days, whenever it came out and wanted to be a New York Jet, he contemplated retirement. He said, I went into that retreat or that darkness session thinking I was going to retire. And I came out pissed off that I got cut by the Packers and I wanted to play football again. Like, he's sort of been out the door mentally, I think, for a little bit now. And it's really hard to commit to playing football when you are thinking about the end. It's why a lot of guys sort of play maybe one more year after they think about retiring, because your heart and soul is just not in it. It's hard to play this game without being 100% fully committed. And it's just, I think everyone, I went through this my last year too. It's not at all anything different that Rodgers going through anyone else, but I seriously think he's thinking about, like, what if my life was this? No more football in it. I'm going to the Derby. I'm doing things I want to do. I'm doing the media I want to do, and I'm not, being burdened by playing football. So I think he's still trying to figure it out from that perspective. But I feel like, Mark, if he wanted to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, he would already be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, that is fair. And if you're looking to set a culture and tone, most important position in the National Football League, and if you're Aaron Rodgers and you want to play football and you want to win in 2025, you better get in there sooner rather than later. If I'm a team looking for a veteran wide receiver, Geoff, I'm going to throw three names at you. Which one would be kind of the apple of your eye? Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, or Tyler Boyd? Which one of those guys? The Giants potentially could be looking for a veteran wide receiver to go along with Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Jalen Hyatt to go along with Russell Wilson, who's going to be the opening week starter for their head coach, Brian Daboll. Which one of those veteran wide receivers do you think would be the apple of your eye?
Well, I like Keenan Allen a lot. He just can't move anymore. I think we kind of, that reminds me of sort of the DeAndre Hopkins move for the Chiefs last year. You just sort of hope to get the best out of an older wide receiver. It's just not there anymore. And that's just the way that those players age. And you just get to see it because it's so clear. It's they're one-on-one all the time, right? It's not like an aging defensive tackle. You don't really notice it, but an aging wide receiver, you sort of see it right away. So I think there's probably specific places for him to go. And those are going to be teams that just sort of want a veteran in the room that can still do some things well on the field, but he's not really, to me, an every down threat like he used to be. Obviously a great wide receiver for many years, just doesn't move quite the same anymore. I would probably think Amari Cooper, man, he has the physical gift. It probably would be Amari Cooper. And let me explain sort of the process now too. Like, these guys at this time, these veterans, unlike Aaron Rodgers, who's a quarterback, there's no rush for Amari Cooper to get into a mini camp. He can take his time. He can go anywhere at the start of training camp and be ready to play football week one. Like, not concerned at all. Any of these guys that just hop in, who have done it for a long time, and be able to contribute immediately. And as teams now look at their roster after the draft, they're going to go through an itinerary. Okay, is this position set? Is that position set? Is this position? Like, they're going to go through it all. They're going to figure out, okay, well, let's add Amari Cooper. How about Keenan Allen? So we might see some movement on those guys, but I would probably rank them, Allen, Boyd, probably, or Cooper, Boyd, Allen is what I would do. But it depends on the team, though. Like team needs what you need.
Yeah, it's a shame. Keenan Allen has got a tremendous set of hands, but as you mentioned, he showed last year in Chicago, he just can't move anymore. And that's difficult if you're an NFL wide receiver, the drop-off in speed and the injuries catching up with Keenan Allen. I want to ask you about a guy that, we all rooted for him to come back, the severe knee injury. He had knee injuries at Georgia when he was a star running back, and that is Nick Chubb. He's a guy that we've seen be a great goal line back. Clearly, the significance and especially the last knee injury have caught up for him, with him. The Browns have moved on. He's sitting out there. What about a veteran running back like a Nick Chubb?
So his videos look great, man. He looks like he is in good shape. I've watched his workout videos, and I think we all have. I mean, he looks good. I think he'll find a home, right? I mean, you look at the teams that could use running backs. Almost all of them can use running backs. They're a position that unfortunately has a lot of injuries. And I'd imagine sort of the same thing as most veterans, like, why rush into a situation yet? You don't have to. He might not also be 100%, so you might as well wait till you're fully cleared, ready to go. But I can imagine many teams, like, I'm a Chiefs fan, man. Chiefs could use, I mean, there's some teams could use Nick Chubb, I feel like. And he's probably never the player that he was. But that player he is now can be super productive. Like, I would be shocked if he got into training camp, didn't have a team.
Yeah, I would be as well. Like, if I'm looking for a guy to add to if I've got, young running backs, if I'm looking for a stable running back that I can lean into, that maybe should injuries hit my team, I can count on. Be a sure-handed guy as well, a guy that could be a good short yardage back, and just a guy that's been there but done that and kind of set a culture for that room. Nick Chubb would be one of those guys. I want to ask you, play to your strength as a former offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Brandon Sheriff, has been a stud interior guard. Drafted at tackle, short arm, moved inside, was great with Washington, signed as a free agent with the Jacksonville Jaguars. A little bit long in the tooth. He's been out there. What about a veteran interior offensive lineman when you're looking at Brandon Sheriff?
Yeah, so this is a great question. This is where I think veterans get to a certain point of their career when they say, I'm only playing for this amount of money or nothing less. And Brandon Sheriff's made a lot of money in his career, Mark. And I think a lot of teams view veteran offensive linemen like him, and they don't value them quite like they should. And they're probably not going to pay him a lot of money to come in because he's gonna come anywhere he goes and be a stopgap for something, right? He's not a long-term answer anywhere. So two things are happening. One, I would imagine that three things. One, he doesn't want to go to OTAs. Why would he? Two is that teams probably want to evaluate their own guys first. Okay, like we have a deficiency guard. We think we do. What if they got better this offseason? We don't know yet. No pads have been on yet. You can't tell if anyone got better until you actually put the pads on. And three, I'd imagine that he says, hey, man, I want to make X amount of money. He signed a 3-year deal for $50 million in March of 22. I'd imagine he's like, I want to get 10, 12, 13, $14 million a year for one season or so. He's not going to get that. So he's got to figure out whether or not he'll play for less money. So there's time for that. I'm not surprised that he hasn't been picked up yet because there's no rush for him to go anywhere. And again, teams are still evaluating the players that they want at those positions.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mentioned it in terms of he's put a number on it. But I got to be honest with you, Geoff, if some team offers him 6.5 or 7 million, it's still $7 million. Like, I understand he's used to making 10, 11, 12 million. It's still $7 million to go out there and play the game you love.
All right, I understand that. Trust me, I would take, if someone paid me $7 million right now, I'd take it too. But I just think like when you get to that age and you made a certain amount of money, there's no point in rushing it now. Like if someone's offering you $7 million, like the offer's not going away, right? They're not going to be, we'll offer you $4 million a week from now. It's on the table, right? It's already there. And just like we talked about quarterback and Aaron Rodgers are choosing a place to go, maybe Brandon Sheriff is targeting somewhere, and he's just hoping that the young guy at that position isn't ready to play. And maybe it's as simple as I want to go to a contender. There's certainly possibly bad teams are like, hey, man, come play for us. And maybe he'll take that less money to go play for like the Ravens, who seem to perpetually need to help on the inside, right? Like there's opportunities for him to go try to win a championship. And he might just be waiting for those.
Yeah, I still think he's got some game left in him, and we'll see exactly where the veteran. Yeah, we'll see exactly where the veteran does end up as we move along in the process. Quickly here, Geoff, I want to get your thoughts on the Jalen Ramsey situation down in Miami. Obviously, both sides have agreed to mutually seek a trade. There's nobody in the Ramsey marketplace right now. If he's a post-June 1st cut, the Dolphins would save about $10 million in cap space. This is a guy of diminished returns. At one point in time, Ramsey was this unbelievable playmaker, a tremendous corner in the National Football League that could impact your team in a lot of different ways. He's no longer that guy. How do you think the Ramsey situation plays out down in South Beach?
So this is going to be another reminder that players are not worth what we think they are in the trade market. Because all the time you're like, that guy, he should be a 3rd-round pick for him, 2nd-round pick for him. And you're like, you end up trading for a 6th-round pick for next season. I think Ramsey's in that boat right now where teams just are waiting it out. It's like, we give you a 7th-round pick next season, or we can just wait till you cut him. Like, that feels like where they're at right now. So I think teams are just going to wait till they cut him. It feels like he's not coming back to be a Dolphin, and they'll just move off from him at some point this offseason. And that's when a team will say, okay, now we'll sign you. There's no rush for anyone to trade for Ramsey right now.
No, there's not. And that's a spot where if I'm close and if I have a need or a glaring need or an injury that comes up, and that's the spot I would a team that's a contending team, a Super Bowl contending team, would be looking at Jalen Ramsey, right? And that marketplace, you might be looking at 6, 7, maybe potentially 8 landing locations where a team would be willing, number one, to give up the draft collateral to go get Jalen Ramsey, and then have the cap space to be able to absorb it. That marketplace is not robust.
Teams, they might make some calls after they figure out if they're good or not at that position.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
This is the GM Shuffle. Marc Malusis in for Dave Ross this week. Of course, Geoff Schwartz with you, presented to you by the DraftKings Network. You can download the podcast on Spotify, everywhere where you download podcasts. Check us out on YouTube, as well as the NFL draft is in the rearview mirror. And now we get to delve into some props, Geoff. I love the prop market. I got to be perfectly honest with you. Looking at it, sitting down at the beach, pool, whatever it might be during the course of the summer months. We're not there just yet in the Northeast, but there's warmer weather across the country. Let's get into some props. Let's start with the Titans rookie quarterback, Cam Ward. Regular season passing yards, Geoff. If I were to ask you right now, what number would you be comfortable at? 17 games, regular season. Cam Ward's going to be the opening week starter for the Tennessee Titans, drafted number 1 overall. How many passing yards do you think he gives you, or gives the Titans year number 1?
Let me see here. Let me do some math here real quick. My little calculator. Oh boy, that's too many yards. I mean, I was like, what if we got this a game? Like, oh boy, that's too many yards. I mean, 3,000 feels right. 3,200 feels right. You got to think about this. They're going to be behind a lot of games, right? So that's important. So I'll have to throw the ball to make it up. I just don't know if he's a skilled passer of the football in that light quite yet. So I would probably lean toward a lower number than a bigger number. It's just hard early in your career to come in. Like, Jaden Daniels is what he is, right? Like think about this. Jaden Daniels last year, who played incredible. 3,600 yards. So are we saying Cam Ward's coming in and doing that? I would say probably no. So I think 3,200 around there, 3,000 is probably about right for him.
Yeah, I would probably I'd go 3,500 plus, which you're getting plus 200. And the reason why is I do think there's a difference between Ward and Daniels because of the escapability. I don't think Cam Ward is the scrambler that Daniels is. I think he's a little bit more. I'm not saying that he can elude the pass rush or can't run for yards. He can. We saw it at Miami a year ago. He's just not the threat that Daniels is. So right now, if you think it's 3,500 plus, you're getting 2-1 on your money in terms of Cam Ward when you're looking at his passing yards. All right, Travis Hunter. Get a sense, Geoff, that the Jaguars are looking at him as more of a wide receiver than a cornerback. He'll play both offense and defense, but it's going to be more wide receiver. And obviously Liam Cohen, their new head coach, and they're trying to get the best out of their quarterback down there in Trevor Lawrence. All right, Travis Hunter, 700 plus yards, it's minus 120. 800 plus yards, plus 1.25. 900 plus 230. 1,000 plus 370, and go up from there. If I were to give you a number, how many receiving yards do you think Travis Hunter has in his rookie campaign down in Jacksonville?
If he's playing defense at all, I'm taking all the unders. I just don't think he can do both at that level. I know right now they don't have two-way markets, I believe, for him. So you just have to sort of look at to your point about how many he'll get. I mean, it's 700 plus is minus 120. I mean, correct. Mark, I just don't think he can do both at a high level in the NFL. And look, if I'm wrong, that'd be great. That means he's an incredible football player and never been done before at that level. I mean, we talked about this the other day, like Deion Sanders' best season as a wide receiver, he had like 300 yards receiving. Like right here. He had what was that right here? His offensive stats. I just don't really see him. If he's a wide receiver full time, I like more of the over. Sorry, 475 yards was Deion's best year. And he was a full time corner, part time wide receiver ish. if Hunter is that, you take the unders. Now, if he's a wide receiver first, he's probably not playing much corner. Then I think you feel comfortable taking more of the overs. I'm just saying right now, I think none of these can be wagered until you know what his actual role is.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I think if he is a wide receiver, I'd be very bullish on him going 900 plus yards or 1,000 plus
Sure,
yards because I think
absolutely.
then, but that's where you need information is king, especially when you're looking at some of these prop markets. All right, how about Tet McMillan down in Carolina, the former star at Arizona, young down there? Obviously, we saw him rejuvenate his career toward the tail end of last season with the now going to be second year coach. Tet McMillan, if I was asking you his rookie year receiving mark, how many receiving yards do you think McMillan has? Big target, speed not great. Obviously, can go out there and high point the football. What do you think about McMillan his rookie year down in Carolina, Geoff?
I'd feel really good about him going over. So it looks like it's like sort of 800 yards is where it's set right now, minus 110. I think he's going to get an opportunity to be good this year, right? I mean, the leading wide receiver last year was Adam Thielen with 615 yards. I just think that they're going to find the ability to throw the ball down the field a little bit more with Tech McMillan and be very explosive. And he's going to be, if he's not number one, he's number 1B in this offense. And I think just giving the ability to go make those plays with his big body, dude, these wide receivers, man, have all positions come in, feel like they're most ready to play, contribute immediately. We see it every year, right, Mark? So I would lean toward overs for Ted McMillan.
All right, Ashton Jeanty with the Vegas Raiders. He got his
Yeah.
number two. He got it from Daniel Carson. Daniel, the kicker, gave it up out there in Vegas. So he's going to be wearing his number 2 out there for Vegas and for Pete Carroll. We know Carroll wants to go out there and run the football, even with Geno Smith at quarterback out there in Vegas. Receiving rushing yards for Ashton Jeanty in the first year
Yeah.
coming out of Boise State. The amount of touches, I would imagine a lot. And I would imagine as long as he stays
Yeah.
healthy, he's going to get north of 1,000, 11, 1,200 rushing yards this upcoming season for Vegas, Geoff.
Mark, I do something in my podcast every year, my own personal
Yeah.
podcast. You go search it out, where we give out wagers to start in August, right? We go through every division, and we bet every starting running back under the rushing yards every year. Because they don't get it very often. Now, last year, obviously Saquon was over, right? It's just there's attrition at that position, unfortunately, and guys get hurt. Game plans don't go as strongly as like the Raiders. Are they going to be ahead in a bunch of games or behind in a bunch of games? If they're ahead in a bunch of games, you feel great, right? He's going to get a lot of carries in the fourth quarter. He's going to be able to break those explosive runs as defenses go all out to stop him on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. If they're behind in a bunch of games, he's not getting those fourth quarter carries. So then you have to rely on him to have those explosive runs in the first, second, and third quarter. I struggle taking overs for running backs, Mark. I will probably zigzag on Barkley and take the under this year. I haven't gotten that quite far yet in all my prep, but the back over taking running backs over rushing terrifies me. There's so many things that go wrong for running backs that it makes it difficult to see a lot of these guys going over each and every year.
If he stays healthy, though, you're looking at a guy that's going to get north of 300 carries next season, correct?
Oh, I'm in agreement with you. I also don't think the Raiders' offensive line right now is really good, and that does
Yeah,
concern me about his
that's a
ability to,
problem.
look. I think you want obviously in this wager to have explosive runs like Barkley did last year, right? Like just grind away, boom, 70-yard run. Actually, he can certainly do that, but the Eagles' offensive line is the best in the NFL, and this one's not. So that's my concern. I think if you wanted an answer, I do think 1,000 yards would be attainable. Like if that's you can pay a little bit of juice there at minus 175. That does feel attainable if things go well this season.
All right, I want to throw a defensive player at you. Abdul Carter from the
Yeah.
Giants. You played for the Giants, right? He's having an issue finding a number. LT wanted 56. LT basically told him to hit the bricks. And then there was the story over the last 48 hours about Phil Simms put up to a family vote. You're not going to get number 11. So Abdul Carter might have more difficult time finding a number than he is playing in the National Football League. But at some point in time, he's going to find a number. I want to ask you, Shane Bowen, second-year defensive coordinator, wasn't particularly good. Got talent along the defensive line, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, amongst others. And now you throw Carter in, the edge rusher, 3rd overall pick. Give me a sack total, you think, for Abdul
Mm.
Carter. Stays healthy year number 1.
So I'm looking at a lot of these all-time rookie seasons for sacks, and it's a lot of sacks. Von Miller, 11 and a half in 2011. Julius Peppers, only 12 games, 12 sacks in 2002. Terrell Suggs, 12. Bradley Chubb in 2018, 12. Reggie White, in just 13 games, 13 sacks. Freeney, 13 sacks. Parsons, 13. Alden Smith, named for Blast from the Past, 14 sacks. And Javon Curse in 99 with 14 sacks. So, the best sort of rookie pass rushers, those all-time greats are they're getting them. They're getting sacks. The question I have with this specifically is, where are they playing him? How are they using him? They already have Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. I kind of want to see if he's going to just be a rush the passer type of guy on third down. Is he a full-time defensive end? He's got to get a little better stopping the run. But I do think right now you could get basically eight sacks, minus 110. I think I would feel comfortable with that. I mentioned I like the draft pick for many reasons, but one of them is that his hand usage is pretty advanced right now, right? Defensive ends in college win basically two ways, right? One, they're just more talented, right? They're more physically gifted than the offensive tackle. But the second way, to me, translates to the NFL. They're physically gifted and they win with skill. Abdul Carter won with skill, Mark. He's a skillful defensive end. I would lean probably 8+ here. If I had to choose what I would take. Again, we see these guys that are all-time greats. I'm not saying Carter's an all-time great yet, but they start pretty hot in their career.
Here's another market that you need a little bit more information on, and Geoff, quickly here, and that is Travis Hunter, interception, staying on the defensive side of the ball. 1+ is minus 295, 2+ is plus 1.25. And then 3+ is plus 300. This is one that you cannot invest right now. You got to find out exactly how Jacksonville is going to decide to use him. I understand 1+, even if he's a part-time corner, you imagine that at some point in time he's going to find his way to an interception. But still, right now, that's minus 295. Who's investing in that right now?
It feels like a bad wager to wager interceptions over. It's just in any cornerback. I mean, that market will see $0 of mine ever. How do you handicap that? There's so many things that go into an interception that it feels impossible. Some of the best cornerbacks don't even intercept the ball in the entire season. They don't get thrown the ball. The ball's, obviously you're trying to make a deflection on a ball. Like, it seems to me that this market is unplayable for me. I don't know how you feel on it, Mark. So I don't have anything for this.
I would not touch it. Yeah, I would not touch it. I would not touch the Hunter receiving market as well. I mean, those are a couple. I like the Carter market. I like the Jeanty market. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to get a ton of carries for Pete Carroll out there in Vegas. We'll come back. We'll talk some prop markets when we look at future awards in the National Football League. We'll do that next.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome back to the GM Shuffle. I'm Marc Malusis, filling in for Dave Ross this week. Geoff Schwartz, of course, with you. And Geoff, we went through some props and the impact of mini camps and what NFL teams are trying to get accomplished before NFL training camps get going during the course of the summer. That was earlier on the program. Let's get into some futures when we're looking at the award season. And one that a lot of people love to delve into is the regular season MVP. Last year, Josh Allen obviously was the MVP of the National Football League. Lamar had himself an unbelievable year, and a lot of people thought maybe Jackson should have won it. When you look at this marketplace now, what's the proper way to kind of look at it and give it the proper perspective? Jackson obviously is sitting now as the favorite at plus 550, along with Josh Allen at plus 550. Mahomes is plus 750. Hurts is 17-1. Where would be the proper investment when you're looking at the regular season MVP in the NFL?
Well, I think the proper investment now is taking some of these longer numbers and then waiting for better numbers for some of the sort of known players later. Because look, you're going to get different weeks when guys don't play as well, when guys are not as good for a stretch of period of time, and it's going to fluctuate up and down. You could probably get Mahomes at a better number if they start. So no, if they start fast, you might not, obviously, right? So if we're looking just for long shots first, Matt Stafford's 35-1. That feels like I think Rams are going to be really good. I'll put it like that. He's never won MVP before, to my knowledge. And if the Rams are a team that I think they can be, remember, they were super young last year. They're a year older this season, Mark. They're going to be really good, in my opinion. Could this be like a sort of career achievement award for Matt Stafford if he plays really well and stays healthy? Absolutely. But 35-1 on Stafford feels like something I would play now. That probably will not get any better throughout the season. Now, as we get to sort of the known guys, okay, obviously Lamar, obviously Allen are in that mix. Mahomes draws my attention here at plus 750. They got embarrassed in the Super Bowl. He's vowed to throw the ball down the field more with Rashee Rice, with Xavier Worthy, with the kid they drafted. Like, they're going to move the ball down the field a little bit more, in my opinion. So that certainly has a role for me. And then I think Joe Burrow, he was, do we agree, the best quarterback last season? He just played on a bad team that had no defense. So to me, like, if you look at the top of the list, it would be Burrow, Mahomes for me. The bottom of the list would be Matt Stafford.
Yeah, top of the list. I mean, I'd go with Lamar. And I know he's one of the favorites, Geoff. Jackson plus 550 because I know he's just going to be just as dynamic. He's going to put up prodigious offensive stats, and I think there is a little bit of a hangover from this past year where a lot of people thought he should have been the MVP of the league, and Josh Allen went up in Buffalo. Not saying that Allen wasn't deserving. They just thought Jackson's year was a little bit more dominant. I think you hit upon the guy. I think it's Stafford at 35-1. You know they're going to want to throw it, right? You've got Nakua out there. Obviously, they added Devontae Adams. It's one of those teams that right now the price is too good not to take Matthew Stafford at 35-1. Like, listen, why exactly wouldn't you take Stafford and then take Kyler Murray at 28-1? Or Baker Mayfield at 25-1, or Love at 22-1. Like Justin Herbert, you know the Chargers want to go out there and run the football. They love Herbert, but is he going to have the kind of year offensively that's going to put him realistically into this conversation at the end of the year? Stafford has that opportunity after getting re-upped in the offseason. The additions they made to that offense, Devontae Adams, as long as he stays healthy, is going to be unbelievable in that passing game for McVay. Stafford at 35-1 is too good of a value right now.
I agree. I think Rams gonna be good this year, buddy. I've said it for a couple weeks now. NFC West, it's a good wager on the Rams. They're going to be a good team this year. And Stafford, much like Drew Brees did he win a late MVP one year? And it was he beat out, I think, Mahomes one season. And it was more like no, he did not. He actually did not win the award that season. There was talk about him winning that award that year. I forgot it. Yeah, he didn't win that year. There was talk about sort of like a career achievement award for Drew Brees, because Mahomes was better that year, but Drew's last year was incredible, and there was talk about that. Like, I could see Matt Stafford being in a situation where he's had a great season, might not be as good as Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, and people say, "Hey, man, like, he's never won one. Let's give him the award." Because last year, I think we agreed, like, Lamar was probably better. He just I think they want to give it to him again, and Josh Allen won the award. So I think that's certainly in the minds of the voters.
All right, how about Defensive Player of the Year? Aiden Hutchinson right now leads the marketplace plus 650. The stud edge defensive end for the Lions coming off the significant injury, which caused him to miss the majority of this past season for the Lions. But what about Defensive Player of the Year? Micah Parsons plus 750, TJ Watt plus 950, Crosby out in Vegas 18-1, Jared Verse with the Rams 22-1. What about Defensive Player of the Year, Geoff?
I mean, Hutchinson, was off to a great start last year. He had like 8 sacks in 3 games, some insane number. But I'm curious how quickly he recovers fully from his injury. That feels like a number you might get better once the season starts. Just looking at maybe he starts a little bit slow coming back from his injury, and that number. Look, Watt is always in consideration, right? I mean, he is a guy that nears 20 sacks each season, and plays on a team that wins a lot of football games. He's only won one of those awards in his career. And he could be in sort of it's not a contract year for him, but he certainly wants more money, right? Moving forward. So maybe there's an idea that, he's had sacks in his career, 19 in 2023. Last year was a little beat up, had 11 to 22 sacks in a season. He's a guy that's always hovering around 20 when he's fully healthy. Injuries do concern you, I think, with him. Myles Garrett's always, I mean, these guys are always in discussion, right, Mark? They've been the winners of this awards the last couple of years. So I don't really have you just pick and choose who your favorite pass rusher is, who's gonna have the most sacks. But those top guys feel like the ones that are in contention. I don't like anyone really outside of the top guys in this market.
Yeah, the only one I'd give a little love to would be Will Anderson down in Houston at 12-1. And that's just outside the top 4 in the marketplace. He's the 5th betting choice right now. How about Coach of the Year, Geoff? When you look at it, I'm going to throw one at you that I kind of like. Liam Cohen down in Jacksonville at 11-1. The Jaguars are not untalented. Trevor Lawrence needs to stay healthy. Did an unbelievable job last year, once again, as the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. We've seen that. Canales got the job down in Carolina. Cohen now gets the job in Jacksonville. I'll give a little love as an outside play for Liam Cohen if the Jaguars are able to have a revitalized, relevant kind of a season at 11-1. A little bit of a goofy guy. We've seen that with his personality, but I kind of like that at 11-1 a little bit.
I don't mind that. This market does feel like very volatile, right? It just sort of depends
Yes.
on the year and how the voters feel. One thing that's silly to me, Andy Reid is 100-1 right now in
Yeah,
this
it's
market.
crazy.
You know
I
he's
know.
yet to win Coach of the Year in Kansas City. What does the guy have to do? Win more Super Bowls to win Coach of the Year? Like, what are we doing? Why has he not won this award yet? Not yet. He won it in 2002, but as far as a Chiefs head coach, 100-1 to have the team that's probably be the 1 seed or 2 seed in the AFC, I find that to be a great value wager. At some point, again, like at some point he's going to win the award. I think. I It's all about
That's
expectations,
crazy.
right?
Well, and then the other one you throw in there, Geoff, how about McVay, 35-1? Like if we're
Yeah, I
going
like
on the
McVay. Yeah.
idea, if we're going on the idea that the Rams are going to be really good in the NFC West, well, McVay right now you're getting 35-1, Stafford potentially 35-1 to be the MVP of the league, but we all understand how great of a coach Sean McVay is out there in LA.
Yeah. I like the McVay one. I do. Only one coach of the year one time before. It feels like, again, like coach of the year, it doesn't go the guy we think it's going to go to every year, right? Like someone comes like Kevin O'Connell last year. I don't think was thought of as like start of the season coach of the year, right? Stefanski, Daboll's won the award before. It doesn't feel like it's now 2017 McVay won. That felt they were good, right? That season with Goff. So who's like the coach? Is there a coach out of nowhere? I mean, is Liam Cohen that guy for you? Is it I think,
Cohen would be a
I mean
guy.
Zach
Steichen 25-1 would
Zach
be interesting. He would not be out of
what
nowhere, but
what if Zach Taylor? What if the Bengals have the offense they had last year plus they had a defense in and they win the AFC North? That feels like a play
yeah.
on Zach Taylor, right?
Yeah, that's not a bad one. Right. I mean, they've got and they address the defense in the NFL draft. That's not a bad one. One more before we bid you adieu this week. Offensive player of the year, Barkley leading the marketplace at plus 650.
Quickly, I want to get back. Why is Brian Dable 25-1 and Sean McVay 35-1 and Zach Taylor 40-1? The Giants' win total is 5.5. Like they
right,
play
but I think
a terrible schedule. I don't. If they win 7 games, is he coach of the year?
I don't think he is. He's won the award. Did it 3 years ago when the Giants went to the playoffs? Brian Daboll with Big Blue, his first year with the Giants. But yeah, if you look at that schedule, and the schedules are going to get released on May 14th, but we know who the opponents are. The Giants have arguably the most difficult schedule in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. That number feels way too low for him. All right, offensive player of the year, Jamar Chase at 9.5-1 feels like a good wager to me. As you can tell through the show, I think the Bengals offense will continue to be really good this season. And if they could get a smidge of defense and be more competitive in these games and win them, I think Jamar Chase is certainly alive here to have a great season again and win this award.
I'll give you one that I kind of like. You could talk me off of it. I like Bijan Robinson at 16-1 with the Falcons. Now I'm not a Falcons fan, and I've got issues with the way that they've handled the quarterback situation down there. I think Penix is going to be really good. They still have Cousins under the fold down there in Atlanta. Robinson's a dual threat. We know how good he is in the open field, running it, catching the ball coming out of the backfield. Falcons have to have a good year. We understand that. But Bijan Robinson at 16-1, I kind of like that marketplace a little bit as well, outside of the top 2 or 3 for Offensive Player of the Year with Barkley, Gibbs, and obviously Jamar Chase.
He had way more carries than I thought he did last year, because I know that they give the backup a ton of carries in Tyson Algier. He had 304 carries last year, and Algier had 137. Wow. I thought it was going to be more like 250, considering I know how much they give the ball to Algier. I like that. You get 1,500 yards rushing from him, and you get nearly 430 yards receiving. The Falcons have to be better, right? They don't give this award typically to a team that's – so if they're better, Bijan's certainly live to win this. I agree with you there.
Hey, Geoff, I enjoyed it, man. That puts a wrap on this week's edition of the GM Shuffle. It's been an absolute blast. I want to thank Geoff Schwartz. I'm Marc Malusis, filling in for Dave Ross, and make sure to check us out YouTube, wherever you download your podcasts. It's the GM Shuffle, presented to you by the DraftKings Network.